Welcome to the Own It Powercast, the place to be when you get serious about making big changes and accelerating growth in your life and in your relationships. Finally create the life you've always wanted, living life on your own terms. Learn how to take your fear and turn it into powerful choices that will create sustained change. Now your host, Mary Baker.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Own It Powercast, the place to come to get what you need to move yourself forward. Hey, it's Mary Baker, and welcome to episode 199, The Power of Place, How to Pick Environments that Encourage Your Growth and Well-Being. Well, welcome back to our discussion about how owning your choices is foundational for your self-esteem, and I think necessary to have good relationships with others. This week, we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, and that is how we choose our environments and how we may need to be very intentional about what and who we have around us, because they can have a tremendous impact on the quality of our life and maybe even the length of it. Because we know that we absorb what is around us no matter what we tell ourselves. But before we get into that, I just want to take a moment and thank each and every one of you for being avid listeners of the show and passing it around to all your friends. Next week is going to be our 200th episode, and I can't believe we're here already. And I just want you to know that I keep hearing just how helpful the information is, and that is so good to know. Please continue to let me know. Hit me up on social. Let me know how this is helping you. Also, let me know what you need me to talk about. Okay, so when we look at environments, our first thought usually goes to our physical environment. And I think there are different ways to look at how your physical environment impacts your well-being. And everyone's different. So there's no right or wrong here. But what we do know, what the research is starting to show, is about stress. If your home and or your workplace is a stressful environment, maybe because there's a lot of noise, chaos, deadlines, maybe traumas, or if you're a first responder or work in that kind of environment. Maybe there's just clutter, maybe disrepair or neglect. It's going to keep you in, even if it's a low level, it's a constant state of stress. You're in that fight or flight and you may not even realize it. You don't really relax. Even if it's just your home that you haven't had time to clean, so trying to find things or do things or even be calm might be difficult. That adds stress to your day. And remember, guys, we internalize this chaos. We internalize the stress. And a lot of times this can be self-neglect. Maybe we're not taking time, we're not doing the internal boundary work to take care of our environments if those are the ones that are within our control. We can't always control what work is like, what the neighborhood is like, that kind of thing. But if your environment leaves you little time alone, either to regroup or refresh, that can be hard too. You know, that's why during the pandemic, a lot of people said two things. One, the introverts like to not having to sit in an office full of people. And then the other people who are working from home saw the drawbacks of maybe an open concept home. There are fewer private spaces to be in, okay, and just detach and disconnect and be alone. So your physical environments, what are they like? Now, the other way to look at environment is geography or location, where you are in the world, where you are in the country that you live in. Because if you don't like where you live, it might be because you ended up somewhere for a job or a partner or some other reason, but you won't feel at peace within yourself. Like, for example, if you love the outdoors, yet now you live in an urban area, you might not feel happy. Or the opposite, if you feel stuck in the country or the burbs and you'd rather be in a walkable city with lots to do, you're not going to feel satisfied. So matching ourselves to a suitable environment can make a big difference if we have those choices to make. The other environment I want to talk about, and probably one of the most important, is the people around us. You know, if you've been listening to the show long enough, how much I talk about our early environments and the impacts they have on our well-being and how we function in the world. Well, we want to look at that, but we also want to look at who's around you now. So let's talk for a moment about safe versus unsafe people. And when I say safe, it's typically emotional safety, sometimes physical. But I think emotional safety is such an important aspect of healthy relationships. I think it's everything. I think it's foundational because trust builds a relationship. And without it, you can't have all the other pieces. And in order to have trust, you have to have emotional safety. Because emotionally unsafe people can really create an environment that is damaging and toxic. So here are some characteristics of emotionally unsafe people. The first one is lack of empathy. Unsafe people usually lack empathy or the ability to try to understand and share your feelings. They'll probably minimize or dismiss your emotions or at least fail to acknowledge the impact of their words and actions on you and other people. They have to. They can't own it. Along with this is often inconsistent behavior. So when you're walking in the house, you never know what you're going to get. Or if something happens, you have eggshells on the floor because you're not sure how they're going to react. They can be unpredictable or at least inconsistent in their behavior, which can create an environment of anxiety and uncertainty. They might be loving and supportive one minute and hostile or critical the next. So you never know what you're going to get and you don't know what to trust, and it's hard to let your guard down. 3, control and manipulation. We talk about that a lot on the show because I think it is so prevalent and so damaging. Emotionally unsafe people may try to control or manipulate you to get what they want. They're going to use guilt, shame, or other tactics to make you or others feel responsible for their emotions and to persuade you into getting what they want, which a lot of times is not being confronted around their very bad behavior. This is toxic and not sustainable. And if someone's manipulating you, they don't like reality and they're less likely to want to look in the mirror to solve problems with you and actually grow and mature. Alongside this is criticism and judgment. They're usually going to be overly critical and judgmental of other people, often in a way that's harsh or unfair. They might use criticism to maintain power or control, or to at least undermine your confidence and your self-esteem. All of these talk about boundary violations, right? Emotionally unsafe people usually do not honor the boundaries of others, and they're not going to respect other people's physical and emotional space, even if that's your feelings or your thoughts or your needs. They can be intrusive or overbearing. They're always thinking of themselves first, and they don't often even think about what might be going on for another person. It's all about them. And finally, denial and blame shifting. Unsafe people usually deny or minimize their own role in conflict or tension. They don't want to own it. So usually they're going to blame other people for their own problems and shortcomings. They rant and rave because they can't believe that this person is doing this to them. And they're usually very unwilling to take responsibility for their actions. They can't sit there, again, because they don't have empathy, and tell you, wow, I can't believe I hurt that person. I can't believe what I did to them. Because that would take humility, introspection, and the ability to own their shit. Okay, so these people can create an environment that's very damaging and toxic. Now, there's a continuum here. From people who are just passive aggressive to people on the other end who are gaslighting the shit out of you and really causing harm to you both mentally and physically. It's really important to recognize the characteristics of unsafe people so you can protect yourself, set boundaries, get out of that relationship, limit the relationship, whatever you need to do, and get some healthier people around you to buffer some of that. Like some people can't leave their job right now, and they may have a coworker or a manager that acts like this. They may have family members or a partner that act like this. What's important is to recognize what is toxic behavior so you don't feel crazy anymore, but also to look at your own behavior. What kind of environment are you creating for those around you? it's really important for us to also look at ourselves and say, ooh, do I do some of that stuff? And I don't even want to look at that. Okay, so that's a glimpse of what some unsafe behaviors are. It's not the entire list, but you get a sense of what we're talking about. So what's the opposite of that? Who are the emotionally safe people? Well, those are the people who create a safe and supportive environment for you and others around them. This means you can have healthy relationships and your overall well-being is actually enhanced rather than diminished when you're around them. So some of the characteristics here are the opposite of what we just talked about, right? Like, first one is empathy. They can demonstrate empathy. They really try to understand and share the feelings of other people. They put themselves in their shoes. They try to really listen actively. And they try to be humble and open and teachable when they're taking in other people's perspectives without pushing it away and being critical and immature. So, therefore, you can go to them and you've had a really bad day and you can share what's going on. And A, they don't make it about them. And B, they let you be where you are. And C, they might even reflect back where you are so you feel validated. Empathy is something that we all need and we all suck at. Some of us more than others. And a little bit goes a long way. The second one is consistency. And I don't mean perfect every day. I just mean on average, outside of a tragedy happening. That emotionally safe people are pretty consistent in their behavior and their communication. You kind of know what you're going to get. So this creates an environment of stability and predictability so your brain can relax. It doesn't have to be in fight or flight. They're pretty dependable and trustworthy. Their words and actions match up. They take care of their stuff. Like we talked about last month, they take responsibility. And over time, you can trust that because that is who they are, people. This is a big part of their identity. Usually people don't give that away too easily once they have it. Once they know what their values are and what their integrity is comprised of, it takes a hell of a lot to talk them out of being responsible, owning their part, giving people a heads up, not saying yes when they can't follow through, that kind of thing. Hand in hand with that is a respect for boundaries. These people respect the physical and the emotional boundaries of people around them. And they really try to make an effort to understand and honor other people's needs and desires because they honor their own. They also can say no in a really healthy and loving way and to negotiate what they need. There's very little drama because of all this, so they're really easy to interact with. And if something comes up, their go-to is, how can we solve this problem? What is my part? Let me let the other person solve their part. There's no manipulating, there's no rescuing, there's no managing, there's no blurring of boundaries. They're also very open and humble. They're often open to feedback and constructive criticism, not someone just being shitty, but just, constructive criticism that they might need to hear because they see it and use it as an opportunity for growth and self-improvement. They rarely become defensive or dismissive when you're sharing your thoughts and feelings, assuming you're doing it in a healthy way. Because they've done enough work on their self-esteem, they're often pretty non-judgmental. And they don't usually criticize or shame others for their thoughts and feelings or behaviors. They may condemn really bad stuff like terrorism or a shooting or something like that, but they're not going to shame you just to shame you. Instead, they create an environment of acceptance and inclusivity where people can feel comfortable just being themselves, wherever they are, struggling and all. And finally, they offer support. They're emotionally supportive. They offer support and encouragement to people around them. And they organically celebrate your successes and your accomplishments. They really are happy for you, and they don't make it about them. These are the people that are there to provide a listening ear when you need it, maybe a shoulder to cry on, or a word of advice if you ask for it. In other words, safe people are safe to be around, and they're more comfortable to be around. They can do empathy. They're more consistent. They have good boundaries. They respect your boundaries. You can approach them. You can confront them in a healthy way, and they don't become a 5-year-old. So that gives you a sense. And I also want to talk about, there are people in your life that you might not think are toxic and they're very loving, but maybe they can't support your growth. So let's say you want to make some changes after a long time of being a certain way, let's say. So maybe your people or family are loving for the most part, but they themselves kind of like to play it safe. Like they don't like conflict. They don't like to confront. They kind of stay where they are. Even if they bitch and moan about it daily, they're going to stay right where they are. They don't push themselves for change or growth. And they're pretty much settling, a lot of them. Well, here's the thing. It's going to be very hard, if not impossible, for these poor people to support you if you want to, set new boundaries for yourself. Take a risk and try new things. God forbid you make a bigger change, like career, getting married or ending your marriage, moving away from them, doing things very differently. That scares them. And a lot of times I think these lovely people don't have a good sense of where they end and you begin, so they make it about them. And they're scared you might leave them. So on the surface, it may very well feel like they love and support you, and they probably would say that they do. But it's the very subtle messages that we can get that actually really might be influencing our opinion, whether we want to admit it or not. Some unspoken messages can be limiting at best, negative at worst. All right. So these statements are not benign. Like, are you really sure you want to do that? Or, oh my, wow, that sounds surprising. Well, that sounds a little bit risky. Well, wait a minute. What's your spouse, your partner, your children going to think of that? So let's take a look at how some of these more subtle messages can be absorbed. Okay. Like the question, are you sure you really want to do that? After you've gone to them and very vulnerably revealed, like, hey, I think I might want to go back to school. I think I might want to move. I think I might want to leave my partner. It's a big deal to be that vulnerable and trust someone with that. And then to hear, are you really sure you want to do that? The meta message, the unspoken message that you take in is, oh crap, maybe I really shouldn't take this step. What was I thinking? Oh God, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe they do know better. When we're vulnerable, self-doubt comes right along with it, no matter who we are or where we are. That's why it's so important who we take this stuff to. The statement, wow, that's surprising. The meta message you can absorb is, maybe this is really out of character for me, and maybe it wouldn't be a good thing to try. Maybe it's kind of crazy. Just like the statement that they say to you, well, that sounds a little risky, is code for, oh no, maybe it is too much risk. Oh God, I could lose money. I can make the wrong choice. Uh-oh. The next one, what will your spouse, your partner, your kids think of that? The meta message we take in is, oh boy, they're going to be really unhappy if I change things. What if I'm really hurting them? What if I'm being selfish? Da-da-da-da-da. Even just the question, but what about X? Gives us the sense that, oh shit, maybe I didn't really think this through well enough. Maybe I should just scrap it. Maybe I don't plan well. Maybe I can't trust myself, right? I mean, all of these make you really question yourself. Where 5 minutes before you were all gung-ho and sure as hell that this is what you wanted to do. So let's contrast all of those well-meaning but negative messaging that we can get with some healthy stuff. This is the stuff you're supposed to hear from other people, unless you're doing something really crazy like getting ready to jump off a literal cliff, okay? You want to hear, oh, good for you. You deserve that. Please go for it. Or that's great. How can I support you around this? And then maybe this is your mom, let's say, and she does have a few concerns, but she waits. First to see if you've already addressed them. And she waits to see you ask her, Mom, what do you really think? And she might say, I do have some concern around money for you, but it sounds like you have a good plan. So she has some healthy conditions there in terms of how well and how broadly she can support you, but she didn't try to talk you out of it. Who is she to know if this is the right thing to do for you or not? Only you can figure that out. The other thing you can hear is that makes so much sense given that you've always wanted to do that. Or life's too short to not give that a go. Or you seem so excited about this. So be very, very careful who you share your vulnerable dreams with, guys. Because you can be pretty fragile and thus very influenceable at this time. And you're going to absorb what others say right now, whether you want to or not. You would be surprised just heartbreakingly how many people over the years have revealed to me how they allowed others in their life to talk them out of some really wonderful things. I mean, you could see their talent, yet they never used their gifts. They never ended up having the life they truly wanted that reflected their authentic self, all because of other people's self-doubt stepping on that brand new plant that was just coming up out of the ground. So you want to go to people who, A, do things with their own life, aren't afraid to take healthy risks, B, have good boundaries and can let you be you, and C, have good enough self-esteem to support you and not try to control you or tell you what to think, feel, need, or do. These people can be your family and your friends, and you love them and they love you, but they may not be your people. You may need to go find, a support group, a work group, some kind of group of people who are in a similar place where you are or where you want to be so they can objectively support you. They can tell you the truth. So when you look at the spaces around you and the people and the vibe around you today, as you're listening, how healthy do you think they are? Do you feel truly seen? Like seen as an individual with their own path? Or are you often subtly talked out of all of that? Do you feel supported by people who are emotionally mature enough to put their own fears and feelings aside to let you soar? Or are they so self-focused that they simply cannot give that to you? How about your physical environments? Do you feel, on average, stressed out or supported by them? Are they clean, healthy, inviting, or stressful and cluttered? If this is your space and you're responsible for the clutter, do you need to do some boundary work? Like, do you take time to tend to them? Are you cleaning up after other people? In your home, do you feel at home? Do you think it reflects who you really are at the core and what you love? Why or why not? And finally, what feelings arise when you imagine making changes to your environments? Now, usually our first feeling is anxiety because I think deep down we're afraid that in order to make changes, we're going to rock the boat. And usually if you struggle to make changes, you struggle with conflict because we might need to detach or let go of people. Sometimes we know that people close to us cannot support something new for us. And if we need to make big changes in our lifestyle or our career, some of us know we can't have both. We can't have them and the new life that we want. That's why I keep saying get some healthy, objective support around you so that you have that as a buffer and a place to land when maybe people close to you can't support that. Love yourself enough to take a thorough look around you and own your choices going forward. We're choosing this stuff. Because even if it will entail a big adjustment at first, doing the right things for ourselves always pays off. The clients that I have watched be so courageous and make some big changes, as tough as it was for some of them, they are so grateful on the other side of it, and they can't imagine ever going back to settling for less than what they needed. So today we looked at, I think, an important area where we're making choices for our self-confidence and well-being, and one that has a huge impact on us, and that is our environments. The people, the places, the things that surround us either create a healthy, supportive atmosphere for us to grow and thrive, or one that's either just unsupportive or downright toxic and will do harm over time. Taking stock of our situations and how we actually look and feel is going to tell us the truth we need to know. If you need support around this, contact me and I can coach you, as I have coached hundreds of clients over the years around making healthy changes. The results I've seen have been literally life-changing. Thank you so much for taking time with me today. I hope this resonated for you. If you're working on this already, you go. I'm so proud of you, and keep going. If you're just getting started, I'm here to support you. If you don't already get the newsletter, make sure you sign up at ownitpowercast.com, and you'll get that one and the back issues as well. So, pay it forward, keep focusing on you, and I'll see you next time.
We hope you took away some useful insights and tools you could begin using right away. If you did, please leave a positive review and share on your social media. Because could you imagine if everyone in your life really got it together? Remember, own it now, so you can really own it later.